One of the things that became clear to me as I started thinking through how white rage works, it became clear to me that the presence of black people was not the trigger for white rage. There's that stun, almost what you talking about, Willis? Look. It is the presence of black people with ambition. The presence of black people with drive. The presence of black people with aspirations. The presence of black people who achieve. The presence of black people who refuse to accept their subjugation. The presence of black people who demand their rights. That's the trigger for white rage.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. So today's video is one for the books because something real is happening on social media. We are diving into a collection of viral TikToks showing a growing wave of fear, confusion, and straight up rage from some white people as they realize that black people are no longer playing nice, staying silent, or asking politely for basic respect. This is shift in power, voice, and presence. And let's be clear, this isn't about hate. It's about truth, about black people standing firm, unapologetic, and finally being heard. Stick around because at the end I'll be sharing some important commentary on what this moment means and how we all can learn from it.
Even if you get mad, even if you get offended, so what you gonna do? Because I guarantee you can't beat me up.
I want to ask black people, how would you feel if white people held an event every year on the coast, the South Coast, Gulf Coast, and we called it White Beach Weekend? And black people weren't allowed to attend this event.
Girl, we wouldn't give a llama's left coochie lip if you and every other white person in white America gathered together today on the nearest beach eating potato salad with raisins in it and dancing offbeat to the Beach Boys.
But I do have a question for you, Joy. How would you and all of those white people feel if we as black people came to that very same beach that y'all were having White Beach Wednesday or whatever you just said, and we stole you? And we drug you across an ocean to an entirely new continent and made you build a country after stealing everything from you. And then we offered you nothing in return for your services. How would you all feel, Joy? Every single time I hear something like this fly out of a white person's mouth, it just goes to show that you are more of an enemy than an ally. Because what about Black History Month makes you so upset? Joy, do you not understand that we were enslaved for hundreds of years? We were stolen, beaten, raped, murdered, and given absolutely nothing in return after building this country. And so because we take 1 month out of the year and we desire to celebrate ourselves, it makes you upset? And who in the hell told you in that partially crossed eye that white people could not participate in Black History Month? Who said that, Joy? Nobody.
White people attempting to rebrand white rage by co-opting the term black fatigue as though it's a phenomenon they actually experience but only recently found the language to talk about is both dystopianly weird and tragically on brand. The copying, the whitewashing, the centering themselves by playing victim. But what's ironically telling about it is that the concept of racial battle fatigue is not new. It's been around for decades. And the term black fatigue has been used by black people for quite a while. Mary Frances Winters wrote a book that came out in 2020 titled Black Fatigue, and it describes the mental, emotional, and physical exhaustion that black people experience because of systemic racism. Now, notice how black people didn't call that white fatigue, because the purpose is not to assign blame in order to justify bad behavior. It is called black fatigue because it is a harm that black people experience, and so their focus is on addressing and combating that harm. Whereas when white people talk about experiencing black fatigue, they are not talking about a harm that they experience because of black people or anybody else. They are literally telling on their own inability to live in society with black people. And that's not new either. That's a pathology that has existed for hundreds of years, but call it what it is, white rage.
I just saw a TikTok that said white people hated black people so much that they would literally fuck up everything in the world just to make sure black people don't get the same opportunity as white folk. Flash forward to March 2025. Guess what the fuck we're seeing in real time? DEI is now removed, probably to hurt black people, but now we're seeing it's hurting white people too. The little middle class farmers and shit. Revoking funding for public education. It will affect black people because public schools, especially in black areas, really rely on that type of funding. But it's also going to affect white people because white people go to those same fucking schools too. This is for every other group in America. Just because you might not like black people, the fact that white people hate black people will fuck up your life too. It will fuck up your life too, and when it does, bitch, we're not gonna do shit about it. I don't know.
Like, black people are notorious for naming their children 25-letter names that they're never going to get even pronounced right, let alone spelled right. Like, why would you do that?
Do you know why they actually do that? Yeah. The reason for that is because during slavery, their identities were taken away. So they had to have unique names in order to identify their offspring when they were sold from different plantations. So that came down generationally as generational trauma.
Okay, well, how about now? Isn't that sort of trauma for that poor kid that's never going to have his name spelled right?
Only to your standards. Like, what is...
If I were that child, I wouldn't want my name misspelled all the way through or mispronounced by people.
That's because people can't take the time to pronounce it correctly.
Whatever.
You can say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, but you can't say Jaquan. Are you kidding me?
Okay, whatever the result is, the poor child does not have his name pronounced correctly or spelled correctly.
Because people do not take the time. You can take the extra 2 seconds to do it, but instead you're sitting here making fun of a whole culture of people for things that they didn't have a choice on.
Do you have a name that gets misspelled a lot?
I sure don't. Well, because my mom whitewashed my name.
So that's racist.
Y'all wanna know what's funny? The other day I made a video saying I had idiot fatigue, and why did I get flooded with MAGA and racist white people angry about that? Now, mind you, I never mentioned race in that video. I never mentioned race. I said I was tired of dumb people, okay? But the fact that they are responding and they felt triggered is very telling. What's that thing they say? Hit dogs. What do they do?
So what we just saw isn't just internet drama. It is a cultural moment. For far too long, the burden of being the bigger person has fallen on the black people. But now what we're seeing is that a generation is refusing to dim their light, dilute their truth, or protect fragility over justice. And yes, it's making some folks very uncomfortable. But guess what? Growth is uncomfortable. And also, what we are seeing is that if you're watching this and you're feeling triggered or you're feeling defensive, pause and ask yourself why. If you're feeling inspired, use your voice. And if you're black and tired, rest when you need to. But know that you're not alone. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more truthful driven content. Bye.